Dakota Kai on Twitch said she was asked at 1 p.m. Saturday to fly from Orlando to Detroit for EO's cash-in, which that was 7 hours before SummerSlam. She booked a flight for 6 p.m., which took off about 7:15, landed during Gunther Drew. So she talked about last year that I think she had, a day's notice or 2 days notice? On this one, she had, a 6-hour notice, 7-hour notice?
I wonder what airline she flew to be able to still get a flight. Did they say?
Damn sure know it ain't Spirit.
It ain't Spirit.
Damn sure know it ain't Spirit.
She would just be getting there now.
For real, for real. Oh, man. Welcome to the TFW podcast. That's Freakin' Wrestling. You guys already know the best kept secret in wrestling podcast. We are on episode 55. The triple threat, 3 the hard way, is here. Rhodesia's here. Eshaun is here. I am here. Before I saw that, I was going to ask you guys. Fast X came out today on physical media. If you guys don't know, I am a massive movie, audio, video holic. So typically I don't, unless it's like Netflix or Peacock, I don't watch digital movies. I buy my movies still on 4K and watch them in our home theater. And the word around Fast X was just how unbelievable it was in regards to sense of disbelief. You got to completely throw out the window. And a lot of people were saying that they couldn't enjoy it because of that. So my question to you two is, what form of entertainment do you allow more of that suspension of disbelief? Is it wrestling or is it non-superhero movies?
Just with technology and computer graphics now, it has to be movies. It has to be.
For me, it is, if it's fiction, those fast movies, they've been outrageous for. Whenever they rebooted the series and brought all the characters back, it's been getting more and more outrageous every episode. Every movie. So I'm okay with that because it's a movie. It's almost a fantasy to me, and I suspend my disbelief for a fantasy.
And that's interesting, right? Because I said non-superhero movies. So you would think if we're okay, which I think we all are okay with, that's some of the fun in movies. Is like, no way in the world, like watching Mission Impossible. This past Mission Impossible I thought was incredible. Mm-hmm. Besides Spider-Man, movie of the year for me. But almost every scene was like, no way. That would never happen in real life. But I enjoyed it. But I'll get irritated a lot of times watching wrestling where there is something that completely takes me out of. I'm already suspending my disbelief already that this is a real fight. We know it's simulated, it's entertainment. But if something like happens that I'm just like, okay, well, that person should probably be dead if that really happened, and they're back up working 20 seconds later, it kind of ruins the match for me. So that was kind of interesting when I saw that. But I am going to pick it up. I've seen all 9 of them up to this point. I got to get it and watch it.
So which one did you say was you just suspended your disbelief the most?
Well, it has to be movies. Like I said, because I don't really get irritated with movies. I did get irritated in the Fast movie where I think it was The Rock. Or maybe Vin Diesel, where like they kicked the torpedo and it didn't blow up.
Oh, yeah, they were on ice. Yeah, you talk about that for years.
How do you just move a torpedo with your foot and it just keeps going?
Well, maybe we should look up the science in that because that might actually legit be realistic.
Be a thing? I got a feeling it's not.
That wasn't it for me. If you were talking about the Fast movies, the moment that got me was the Homeboys in Outer Space.
that was the last one.
That was the last one. 9.
Ludacris and Tyrese. They're in I don't know, it was a Cutlass or something. I don't know what they was in. But they literally in outer space in a Cutlass.
That Bow Wow made up too, right?
Oh my God. This is like, oh, hey, y'all doing too much in these movies now. But it was what it was.
That's hilarious. All right, let's get right into it then. Roman Reigns injured. So now it makes sense. You guys all heard me on Sunday's pod, seen me on Twitter, talking about just how lackluster the match was, which for me made the finish even worse because the match never got out of first gear. And now we see why it never got out of first gear. Roman Reigns injured in that match. It looks like if you go back and look, there were some clips on Twitter. And I remember the spot being in Ford Field because I was like, man, that was kind of clunky. Like, okay. But it was a spot where Jey does the suicide dive early in the match. And Roman was not ready for it. He was kind of leaning over the barricade a little bit. And even in the video, you can hear Jey, as soon as he's about to go through the ropes, he's like, watch out, Joe. And hits him. And then Roman says something to him. And then like Jey kind of sails at that point, slows down a little bit. And then, hey, it is what it is after that. But it looks like from what they're saying, they're keeping it hush on the extent of it. He's still scheduled to be at SmackDown. So I don't think it's probably that big of a deal. But he was scheduled to be on the press conference they did after SummerSlam. He skipped that. It was just Heyman. So now we know why he skipped the press conference also. It was probably getting checked out. So hopefully everything is all good with that. Damn, we do not want any type of injury that can set back this storyline. But WWE puts out yesterday, let me pull this tweet up to make sure I'm not getting it wrong. Because I was like, is that what we're doing right now? It says, this Friday on SmackDown, Jimmy Uso returns to the island of relevancy to acknowledge the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. So let WWE social media team tell it, Jimmy's down with Roman?
Okay, so more importantly, well, nothing more important than that, but is it confirmed that he's injured?
For the most part, yes.
Okay. And is it confirmed he was injured at that spot?
No. The initial word was it happened early in the match. And then, of course, Twitter being the detectives that they are,
man, they so
scouted it and found it and put it up there. But I'm sure that's what it was.
Okay. I think that's one to get clips or to get views for SmackDown. I can't see that happening.
You'd hope not, right? Like,
yeah.
You'd hope he worked on his own. And because the way Roman's facial expression was, like, he didn't know that was happening. Now, Heyman had the look on his face like he wasn't surprised. But I would hope he just didn't go back to Roman. I don't know. But it is going to be this Friday. I'm interested to see, and we talked about it on Sunday's pod. They'll make it make sense. I still think this was a speed bump. I still think this was a glitch. Just overall, now I got to throw the match out. Because if Roman was working injured, okay, match doesn't count. It is what it is. Now we just take it for face value. Who knows what they had planned for the match. But we know the finish was still what it was going to be. I didn't ask you guys on Sunday, but I'll ask you now. How excited are you for SmackDown to see the follow-up? Are you just as excited as you've always been? Or do you kind of have a nasty, bad taste in your mouth of, I'm worried about what we may see?
I'm still super excited like I normally am. I told you when I watched SummerSlam back and watched that final match, I actually really liked the match. So for me, nothing changes as far as my excitement for the Bloodline week to week.
Yeah, the cocoa is cool for me.
And what does that mean?
Like when you get some hot cocoa and it's been sitting out for a long time, you come back to it, you go, "Ooh, it's cold." That's what that storyline is to me. It's cold.
A little chilly.
Yeah, it's cold, but I'm still gonna drink it. And I might even enjoy it. I like chocolate milk too. So, but
or too, what you can do is put that cocoa mug in the microwave, nuke it for about 30, 45 seconds, and a lot of times it bounces right back. Could be good as new, and that may be what we get this Friday.
I believe so. I believe so.
Or you could be like me, and I drink my coffee that I make early in the morning at like 2:00, 3:00 in the afternoon, and it tastes just as good as it did when I first made it.
Ugh.
But that also makes sense of why you like that match. It was kind of the same
My
thing.
Expectations, huh? They're just like,
low.
whatever. They're like, whatever.
Super low.
But when I read that injury, I know you mentioned you said you throw the match away. Like I didn't. Like I can't unsee what I saw. Right? I was
even if he's hurt.
Time. I still sat there for 40 minutes, kind of unentertained. Right. So that makes me feel better knowing that, well, not better, like that Roman didn't just intentionally give me a stinker, like, right? He did what he could physically do in the match. However, the match still stunk, and the ending was even stinkier. So, look, I'm glad that Roman didn't let me down intentionally, like, right? But it was what it was, and that finish is what it is, and that was planned. And when we talk about, and actually, I intentionally didn't send you guys the clip, but somebody found the clip. And I remember the segment is when the Usos were doing I think it was a go home promo against Sammy and Kevin right before Mania, and Jimmy was popping off at the mouth, and he said that I am the tribal chief. He put the one up, Jay put it up with him, because Jimmy was talking real reckless at one point.
I remember that it was something to the effect of, when it comes to the Usos, I am the tribal chief. I can't remember exactly what the line is, but I know the punchline was, I am the tribal chief. Once again,
that might be a nugget they dropped for us at that time, right?
And we know that they're going to find a way, and they're going to be able to find pieces that we probably aren't even thinking of right now. I've seen a lot of theories online of Jimmy's just jealous of Jay, and that doesn't work, because Jimmy was the one that super kicked Roman to start all this. So that doesn't make sense if he's just jealous of him. Now, could they go with the angle of, you tried to become champion above? I don't know. Even that doesn't make sense to me. That's why I am excited for Friday to see like how they spin this, because I know it's going to make sense. It has to, because we know this wasn't hot-shotted. I just think the execution of the matches would really put a nasty taste in my mouth. Say if that match was great. Mm-hmm. If the match was as good as I thought it was and we had that finish, I would be more of like, damn, okay, are we about to go backwards? But all right, like everything else they've done has been great. We'll see. I was just so turned off because to me the match was lacking that much. But for me, I can say, you know what? If somebody's injured, that is what it is. Take it back to if we talk about football, last year with San Francisco 49ers, half their team went out injured, didn't have a quarterback. Well, yeah, you're going to get blown out against Philadelphia Eagles. Mm-hmm. That's going to happen. I can't put that at the same bar or meter as if they're fully healthy 100%. So with the match is what it is. Now, like I said, all right, let's have this make sense. I saw a note also from one of the insiders that work with WWE that stated that there's some people that I shared a clip on Twitter from Sunday where Jimmy and Jay were talking about their dream is to wrestle each other at WrestleMania. And they're like, for us, that would be like the top of the top, better than anything that could ever happen. So the report was just that there's people in WWE that wants that match to happen at Mania, but they basically know they can't wait. What would it be, 8 months from now? I think they can't hold that off for 8 months, and we'll probably get it much sooner than that. And I don't know how you don't do that match at Payback. I can't see Roman working Payback. So you have Solo. I don't think you go Jay versus Solo at Payback. To me, that's the match. And that match is probably big enough to main event Payback.
But that would be super quick. And I would feel like we rushed to this point.
You know what? I don't usually like to see tag teams feud against each other. Mm-hmm. I'm not super interested in Jay versus Jimmy. I understand they probably can make me get into the match. They can get me invested, but I can't think of many tag splits to where I said, you know what, I wanted to see those guys, feud against each other. And I'm talking about like real tag teams. Like we never got a Bret the Hitman Hart versus Jim the Anvil match, right? I wouldn't be that interested in it. Hawk and Animal, we didn't want to see that back in the day. I didn't want to see Rick and Scott wrestle against each other. The only time that a solid tag team that had been together for years, when the breakup worked, it was the Rockers. It was Shawn Michaels and it was Marty Jannetty. That's the only time it worked. And for me, that was because Shawn Michaels had changed into such a different person And Marty Jannetty was off TV, I think, for a while. So it really allowed us to kind of cement Shawn Michaels as a heel and his new heel persona. But that's the only time I can remember that actually working.
Well, so then that's funny you say that, because I was just about to ask you, it worked for who? Worked for Shawn. Definitely didn't work for Marty Jannetty. I mean, nobody looked at Marty as like a single star. This is the first time, though, that I can say, and please, if you guys can think of one,
I know
please
one. I know
send
one
it
right
to
now.
us. Who? Well, who is it?
And it's ironic. It was the last set of twins in WWE when Nikki and Brie got into it. I thought that was awesome. I loved when they got back and forth.
Yeah, okay.
And I think Nikki got hurt, or someone got hurt for a moment of it, and so it didn't last as long as it probably could have. But I love that when I think it was Nikki sided with Stephanie. I think at SummerSlam.
That's a good one, because I was going to say there hasn't been another tag team where we weren't clamoring for one of them to go singles.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jimmy and Jey are almost on the same level, depending on who you talk to and what you think. I like Jey as probably as a better single star, but they're neck and neck when it comes to promo ability, wrestling ability. Typically in the tag teams, you get that one that would completely take off. If the Profits would have broke up 2 years ago,
sure, Montez would have
took off, and Dawkins would have been wherever he was at. And it was some points last year I was like, you know what, Dawkins is at that level with Montez. So the Bella Twins is a really good one. But besides the Bellas, I think every other time they've done a tag team breakup anywhere, if it's a true tag team, not just hey, we're putting this team together to break them up for a big blow off match 6-8 months down the line, a year down the line, I can't think of another tag team that both were at that same level, that when they both split, you're like, okay, this is a big deal for both guys. And I think we do have that here. But if watching that, it was from an interview, I think I can't remember who it was with, but if this is like their end game, if this is their end goal, this was what they've always wanted, this is what they've been thinking about, we know that it is going to be fantastic, and we know the match is going to be great, et cetera, et cetera. So that's Friday. Let's talk about Raw. Immediate upgrade to me. Show starts, and Michael Cole, God bless you, Michael Cole. You used to be trashed around anyone that watched WWE TV. Vince McMahon set you up to fail. You came in as JR's replacement. We all loved Jim Ross. Then they turned you heel, and we hated you. And now you are loved universally. And last night, it was an immediate difference. And this is not
you didn't like Kevin.
This is not me shitting on KP.
Yeah,
it's not me shitting on Kevin Patrick. But there was an immediate difference. And I would even say, and I love Corey Graves on commentary, I would even say there was a difference in a positive direction with Wade Barrett also. In Bronson Reed's match, I've never heard commentary put him over the way they did on Raw this week. And that's the best you can ask for.
But is that because Wade had been with Bronson for a while in NXT? So he had that, okay. Because I mean, that's what I took out of that too. I was like, that sounds really good. But I'm like, but he knows him. I mean, this is his old boy from NXT.
Yeah, but I thought it was a home run for the commentary team. I really did. So shout out to them. I thought it was fantastic. E, I know you're not like major on commentary. You said a lot of times that you kind of block it out. Could you hear a difference last night on the commentary?
Nope.
I figured as much.
But I will say this though. The times that I do hear Patrick, I wish I could tune them out.
Y'all are so messed up. Y'all are so mean.
No, I mean, it's just he's not the best right now, and they see something in him, which is why they're keeping him on SmackDown, but they're going to 3-man booth. So they're putting Cole with them, so Cole can kind of show him the ropes and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not saying like I want the man fired or anything. But I did think, like, hey, if we're going to make a change on commentary, this is the perfect time to put Vic Joseph back on the main roster somewhere, or Raw, SmackDown, have KP go down. But, he's probably not going to learn really anything from Booker, being, his right-hand man. So this is probably best for all with him being on SmackDown. But yeah, I thought they did fantastic on night one on Raw.
Booker is barely an upgrade over Patrick, by the way.
Oh, I don't think he is. I think KP is better than Booker. I like Booker for certain moments for that color, like maybe on a super big PLE pay-per-view, and it's a 3-man booth. So I don't have to hear him often. But when it's a 2-man booth and I hear him like every 10 seconds, oh my gosh. It just makes me cringe. And I'm sorry, Booker T, but ugh. It sounds like me. It sounds like I could actually commentary. And I know I don't have that ability, but it seems like I could probably do a decent job.
Oh man.
He bounced the ball. It bounces the ball. It bounce and bounce and bounce and ball. Sorry.
He's not that bad. He's not that bad, but
was that Boban on a State Farm commercial?
Yep.
He's like Boban on a State Farm commercial. Come on. And he bounces it and he bounces it and he bounces it.
You want some of this? One of the biggest pieces from what do y'all want to talk about first? You want to talk about? Let's start with LA Knight.
I was going to say, come on, do it.
Let's start with LA Knight.
This is the night after SummerSlam. Everything starting after April 6th or 7th, whatever that came out. Let's go there.
I've said for a long time, we talked over a month ago, and I said, hey, how over is LA Knight really? I know at the time it may have sounded like a dumb question when I asked it, but I think you guys understood why I was saying it. If you can get over, great. If you get over with just a catchphrase, okay, let's see what it means when you're doing something that matters on TV. We've talked about it ad nauseum. His last big feud, hell, maybe his last feud was Bray, and that was in January. And he's been getting over steadily through his promo work, through his appearance, his energy, but he hasn't had anything to sink his teeth into. He had something to sink his teeth into last night with The Miz. And I thought they did a fantastic job. I mentioned on Twitter, anybody who wasn't on board yet, I think that was like the perfect segment to get them on board now with LA Knight. You know, maybe they were kind of still like, all this guy says is yeah. I think there was enough that they're like, okay, I get this guy's story now. They touched on where he's been for the past 20 years. I really, really enjoyed that segment. I thought Miz was the perfect person to bounce that off of with him.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, I think he did a really nice job of kind of leading him down the way. I also think the crowd reaction was a little interesting to me because it felt like, just watching it at home, it felt like to me the crowd was just waiting to say yeah. I don't know if the crowd there was super invested in what he was saying. It just seemed like they were waiting to go yeah. I could be completely off base on that. What did you guys think about that segment?
I would be remiss if I did not give Miz all the props in the world. He made me, from the very beginning of that show, when we first saw him backstage, had to be told, hold on and wait. And he's like, who am I? Who are you telling me to wait? From that moment there, he had me invested in like, oh my God, why is he waiting? Boom, perfect. You see LA Knight taking his photos. I cannot go a second further or longer and say that Miz did not help this big time. Like for me, I'm a LA Knight fan, but Miz really brought me in. And I think that in the ring, Miz has been stepping it up. And I know we always laugh at him because he's kind of like this mid-carder, but this dude's pretty consistent too for what he's used for. Overall, I love that segment. I thought that it was incredible. It actually brought Miz up for me and also brought LA Knight up for me. And again, now I feel like I can be invested in LA Knight because it is after SummerSlam. So we should see how this goes.
Yeah, really nice segment from those guys. Miz is very under appreciated, I think, in the wrestling community. He has been for a long time. His matches have always been fine. I don't think he is a 5-star match guy, but he's gonna be in a match that's going to be technically sound. It's not going to be bad. It's going to probably make sense, and it's going to be a safe match for everybody involved. And I think people will be entertained. LA Knight is a guy whose matches are just fine. So I'm a little concerned on what kind of match quality, right? I think we might get a couple of 2-star or 3-star matches out of the two of them, which that's okay as well. But from a in-ring mic work perspective, it's going to be awesome stuff. LA Knight is just charismatic. Because like you think about what he says, he's not like he had a couple of mic drops on our hit row, right? But he's not really a battle promo guy, right? Now Miz can be that. Maybe LA Knight can be that, and Miz is going to bring that out of him because he had a couple of zingers last night, and it was great to see. So I think we're going to be in for a treat on the microphone. I think it's going to allow Miz to fire up because I love fired up Miz, right? Like we haven't seen a fired up Miz really since his feud with Bryan Danielson, on Smack Talk.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
He'll get his time just like he had that banger of a match, I think, with Seth earlier this year. Kind of going back to your point about like how he is in the ring. Typically, his matches are there. Like they're there. Like it's not going to bore you, but you're also not going to walk away and be like, man, what my favorite match of the night was? That Miz match was fire.
But it's always entertaining.
He's had a couple of those this year on Raw though, where you're like, all right, Miz was super motivated.
Because remember, it was about that time to start firing people. He was like, hold on, let me show you. Let me show you. You can't fire me yet.
But no, I mean, not from the in ring. I'm talking on the microphone. Like, you remember that promo he cut on Danielson on Smack Talk?
Talking Smack. Oh, yeah, Talking Smack.
That's about, 3 years ago?
No, longer than that.
Oh, wow.
Has been that? Oh, yeah, perhaps been that long.
Yeah, because remember, that was before Bryan was even cleared to come back to wrestle.
Yeah, oh, my goodness.
You're right.
So that was a long time ago. And then
he was really
3 weeks later, they canceled Talking Smack.
That's because of crazy, too. That was crazy. But, he was really fired up on it. He was cutting some amazing promos during that time period. And we haven't had a fired up Miz on the mic in quite some time. Maybe LA Knight will bring that out of him. And then hopefully, Miz brings something out of LA Knight. So together, we should have a nice feud on our hands.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of anything that was within the first hour commercial free time period.
54 minutes commercial free.
Yep. They talk about an hour. No, man, I saw that commercial at 7:54 Central Time. You lied. Yep, it says outside the ad-free first 45 minutes, LA Knight in the Miz segment was the high quarter hour from last night's Raw, crossing into the 10 p.m. hour.
Wow.
So once again, they gave the fans something to sink their teeth into with LA Knight, and the fans responded by watching. So, E, to your point, I didn't think I was looking forward to a Miz and LA Knight feud. But I'll be damned, we're here, and I'm here for it. So, this will be the last time I said it. I may have even said it before. I'm done talking about the draft. You're not even getting me next year. When they come out and say they're doing the draft,
I stopped thinking about it.
I'm ignoring the draft. We won't even talk the draft.
Wait.
If you guys want to talk the draft next year, tell me. I won't even show up on the show, or I'll just mute it and go do something else, and I come back when you guys go on another segment.
Wait, who's on SmackDown that was there at the Raw? Well, LA Knight.
LA Knight's a SmackDown guy.
Oh yeah,
he was back there taking, and then I was like, all right, he's taking photos. Maybe he's just taking photos with Slim Jim, and they had to get the photos taken care of on Monday. And then he came out in the promo segment. I was like, all right, draft is dead and gone, which I'm okay with. Shouldn't have the draft anyway. But I thought that was a highlight for sure of the night. So now we know what's next for LA Knight. So very good stuff. He's got to continue to, I think, pound the pavement for people who still may not be locked into anything outside of But I thought Monday was fantastic. A fantastic start with those two.
And first off, don't ever kick me with some chukka boots on. Man, I always talk about the Usos, hitting and kicking the air ones. Man, don't do that with no Timbos on your feet. I'm going to pull a bat out and hit you for real.
So we know now what LA Knight next is, but we don't know still what's next for Cody.
Well, we don't know like this exact moment, but he said one particular word that I was like, because we didn't forget about that. And that word, acknowledge.
He did say that. He did say that.
So
and the crowd popped and everybody got excited. And then the segment kind of took a left turn. What do you guys think is next for Cody on Raw? Seeing that nothing was answered. I was still waiting for Drew. I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, all right, it's 9:54. Like, they got 6 minutes left. I don't know how Drew's going to show up and attack Cody or Seth. It didn't happen. What they were saying was Drew was back to taping his movie that he's filming with Batista. So that's where he was on Raw.
Oh, that's cute.
Yep. But what you guys thoughts? What do you think after watching Raw in its totality? We kind of can see where some of the new feuds are heading and going. You got any thoughts on what's next for Cody?
No real thoughts on his next opponent. I thought the dynamic between him and Seth and partnering was pretty cool. And then that battle of who's, I don't even want to call it the alpha, but who was the leader of that attempted trio that they were trying to put together last night. I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought like how Cody walked away. He's like, you know what? Fine. You got it, Seth. Just take care of it and keep it moving. And then Seth he brought on Nakamura and then what happened. But overall, I thought that was pretty cool because we don't know what's next for Cody, but I was at least satisfied with giving me a look between the relationship between him and Seth and other top guys on Raw.
I know we think that Cody and Roman might be what's next on Mania. I like to think so as well, but they got like a little storyline thread with Seth and Cody. And, Seth brought it up at start of his promo. He was like, hey, you came out on me a couple months ago and we got interrupted. What's going on, fella? What you got to say? Right?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he comes out and talks, somebody interrupts again, right? And you see there's a little bit of tension between the two of them. So that thread has to pay off at some point. And when does that thread pay off? It has to lead to a championship match, right? Because Seth is a champion. Cody wants some championships. Do we see another rematch with those guys? And if we get that match before Mania, okay, and I'm going to go ahead and say Cody wins. Because damn it, that's what we do. That's what we do.
If it wasn't for the story of, and he's even come out and said, I don't want that belt. That's not the belt I came back for. I came back for the WWE belt, which isn't even the Universal belt, but whatever. If it wasn't for that, I would say I agree with you. I also would say I would agree with you, but there's no way they're going to split the audience. One of them will have to turn heel. We know Cody's not turning heel. We know Seth's not turning heel. They're not going to split the audience. I would love to see that, but I wonder at the end of the match, they had a handshake and they both hit the corners, pose, and that was when Shinsuke kicked Seth. To me, that was kind of like the period on their beef, like for now, like for a long while. I don't know why I felt that way, but when I saw them shake hands, I was kind of like, all right, that's okay. The chapter is way closed on this for now.
No, that's just a period, just for a moment, because it's something. Because like whoever, so Seth and Nakamura is gonna, I would say, probably feud for maybe a PLE, right, or two.
Mm-hmm.
Cody's gonna be on to doing something, so it's gonna be some time to where the two of them are gonna be preoccupied with other things. Then we're gonna have that conversation again, right? Because Cody came out to talk to Seth about something. We don't know what. We don't know what's on their mind or what the attention is. What I was going to say is that let's say we get that match before Mania. Cody wins and he's the champion. And he says that, hey, this championship isn't enough. Roman, let's do a champion versus champion at Mania. I've been trying to make sense of how, like, where they're going with this thread. Is it because I don't see Triple H ever starting a story and not finishing it. Vince, oh yeah, like he stops stuff week to week, but Triple H very rarely doesn't pay off on a thread. So it seems like they're going to be meeting somewhere, and we're going to get something out of those two. What and where is the question for me.
I did absolutely love how, and call it Cody, call it WWE with Cody. I don't know who is making these calls. They haven't missed yet in his presentation. Rhodesia, you brought up earlier. The spot where she asked the question, they're backstage, and they both go to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody bows out and was like, all right, you know what? I'm not doing this. You got it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll see you out there. Go ahead and handle this. This is yours. That ain't never happened that I can remember whenever we have a face versus face type of dichotomy. It's always we're trying to one up each other. And for him just to bow, I'm like, you know what? You got this, man. I'm going to head this way. Without having any type of jealousy, no disdain, I was like, damn, they did it again.
But that's why I said
something
I
else
found
that
it
is
so
endearing
interesting
to the fans.
Yeah, like because when like the saying, if you know, you know, if you the top dog, you the top dog. Whatever the case is, if you're comfortable in your skin, I don't need to be going back and forth with you. Okay, Seth, you said you got this. All right, I'm leaving. And I've never seen that, and if I have seen it, it's never sticking out in my brain as a memory. I really loved how that played out.
And Seth didn't like that, man. When Cody walked away, he was struggling with it.
You know, he was struggling with it.
He stared off in that direction for a good while, right?
He was struggling with it. Yep, 100%, man. So I do have a hot take about SummerSlam, and this may not be a hot take. I don't think it's a hot take, but this is probably going to be taken as a hot take, and it's about Cody. It's about Cody and the Brock interaction. I think the Brock hug will be a top 3 career highlight moment for Cody when it's all said and done. And that's with me already putting one at All In or AEW. That's already having me have at 2 him main eventing WrestleMania against Roman. And I think that hug from Brock and Brock putting him over the way he did, I think is a top 3 career highlight for him. And it will be going forward. Whatever else he does in his career, if he works for another 10 years, 12 years, I think that no matter what, that's going to be a top 3 moment in his career.
I would probably put 4 or 5 because whenever he wins the Covenant finishing the story title, that would be top 1 or maybe All In. I don't know kind of where he would put that at, but for me, I'll probably put it around 4 or 5.
You're talking about personally for him, right? Or are you talking about as a fan?
A career highlight. Yep. Yeah. Not personally for him because we know that's up there. But yeah, I think as a career highlight, we were to go back and do a career retrospect when it's all said and done, and we were to go top 10, career highlights for Cody. I think that moment is a top 3 moment for him.
It depends on how WWE plays it because I don't honestly know if I'm going to remember it in another couple of months. That happened.
I think you will. I think you will. I think you will. I think, to tell you the truth, I think this is on the same level as him losing to Roman at WrestleMania in regards to importance to his career.
Ooh.
I do.
I don't agree with you on that at all.
Yep. I do.
I
think that's that important. And I think the fans will look at it that way also. For Brock to put you over, Brock has never put somebody
I was going to say, I get that part of it. And they made a point to mention that Brock has never done this in his entire wrestling career.
Yep.
But to put that on the same pedestal of him losing against Roman at Mania, I don't think any Cody fan will ever forget Cody not winning at Mania. People will forget, like Eshaun will forget about this hug, the bro hug.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Rhodesia. You know that for me as a fan, Brock doesn't define how I feel about Cody as a wrestler. Like for me as a fan, like his acknowledgement of Cody doesn't affect how I feel about him. Like I was down for him before he was, so I'm glad that Brock, that you're a fan now, join the bandwagon. You can come over to the crib now, and we can hang out. Mm-hmm. All good. But for me as a fan, that don't mean nothing to me, right? Like that Mania moment, how he was robbed of a moment, and and look, and Cody sounds like maybe he's a company guy, and he was down for it, and because his dad, you guys may not have saw all of the NWA stuff, man, but Dusty used to lose all the goddamn time. Mm-hmm. He lost all the big ones. And that was part of it because he knew that there was more money in him chasing the title than him being champion. And, Cody is a student of the game, and I think he feels that way too. He feels like there's probably more interest in him chasing the champion than him being the actual champion. Because typically the heels are like a Roman is right now or like a Ric Flair was back in the day. Those are the guys that are champions long term because the fans want to see somebody knock them off the pedestal. So I get all of that. But for me, I'm not going to remember it unless WWE keeps bringing it up in their highlight packages or they make it important in some type of way as on how I'm going to remember it happened. But I get it. And I'm glad that maybe that's a moment for you so you can get super on the Cody bandwagon. I know you like him, but you don't love him yet. You know what I'm saying? If that helps you love him a little bit more, kudos. I love that too.
I have an Easter egg here for anybody who's watching us on YouTube.
Shake my head.
At That's
Shake
Freakin'
my head.
Wrestling. Right above my left shoulder and my right shoulder, I got both the Codys. Same one. Same picture. One autograph to Big Matt and one to Lil Matt.
Here's the thing, though. When there's an Easter egg and while
They're
it's
both pretty
happening,
big, though.
you don't say it's an Easter egg.
Oh,
You would go
okay.
back later, like in the special features or, episode 72. You could be like, hey, in episode 55, if you were paying attention, you don't give away the Easter
Well,
egg.
this was my way of trying to get people over to the YouTube of That's Freakin' Wrestling for them to check us out.
We are on YouTube.
Don't blow up my spot, okay?
That's Freakin' Wrestling.
Mm-mm-mm.
We are there. Yes. Yes. We talk a lot about audio. We don't talk a lot about the video, but we are there. You can come see our beautiful faces on YouTube anytime you would like to. We kind of glossed over it. I'm going to go back to it. Are you guys excited for Shinsuke and Seth?
No.
Yes, I love Shinsuke. I love Shinsuke. I love his segment when he said he's through with it. That was one of my big notes that I took. I'm through with this. I'm taking control of my career at this point, is what he said. And sure enough, it looks like that's what he's about to do. Give me Shinsuke right in my veins, right there. Oh, and I probably shouldn't do this. Last time I did this and I listened to the playback, it sounded kind of adultish. So.
What it sound like? Tell me, what it sound like?
Nope.
Some
Sound
back
like
smacks.
It sound like I was going into business for myself.
Oh, God.
After you tell me it's too much, is that what it sound like?
God, dog. What's our next topic? Oh, what? Eshaun, you said no, right? No,
Yeah, he said no within the first 0.2 seconds.
Nope.
Because you're not bought
here's
into
the thing.
Shinsuke?
That's it. Like, this is, like, I get in a way how you felt originally about LA Knight, but since Shinsuke's been around for a long time, and they haven't really pushed him to the top, right? So just because he did like his little finisher on Seth doesn't make me think that he can beat Seth. Like, right? He hasn't been built as a threat in a long time. So until I need to see more of him and more of the story, I'm sure through the investment in the story and the storytelling, I might get more into him as a character and him as a heel. But right now, like, I know whenever
I can appreciate that.
whenever they're going to get in that ring, it's going to be a dub for Seth. It's just going to be more follower until we get to Cody and Seth or whatever they're going to do with those two.
The matches are going to be great. And here's the thing, right? With wrestling, we have to sometimes we talk about, okay, here you go, the suspension of disbelief. Okay, I don't think there's probably many people, if anybody. There's somebody, because somebody hit me on Twitter and said they would like to see Shinsuke beat Seth and then run it back. They actually brought up one of your favorite matches, Rhodesia. Take over.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, with Sammy
with
and
Shinsuke
Shinsuke.
and Sami
My
Zayn.
favorite match of all times.
Yeah,
Of all the times.
But we know Shinsuke is not going to beat Seth. But it should be some good TV. It should help elevate Shinsuke, and I'm all for anytime anybody's elevated. And I would have thought they would have done a little bit more with Ricochet than they did. I was a little disappointed in that. I was a little disappointed in that. And I know Logan Paul wasn't going to be there, but he had his quick promo segment in the back with Pierce where he's showing piss and vinegar. He's upset. He gets thrown into the 4-way match and then he loses, which we knew Chad Gable was next up for the IC.
Yeah, that match was amazing. So
which it was.
Yeah.
It was. But I was expecting something else from Ricochet.
I mean,
like
after his
you don't
loss,
remember him now.
After his loss, I mean, this is why I mentioned on the pod that I kind of wanted Ricochet to win so he can get that momentum, right? So he's already lost at SummerSlam, right? So he doesn't have the momentum now. Who has the momentum out of the four? I mean, it's kind of Chad. We talked about he was the next one up. So it could be only one. Like, right? It can only be only one. So right now it's Chad's time. So maybe with Ricochet, he goes back in the lab. You know, he keeps working on it. And then he'll be the next one up, right? Whatever feud he goes into the next month or so, builds him up to be the next challenger. Maybe he goes to SmackDown, right? Like, you know, LA Knight's on Raw feuding with Miz.
Maybe he's next.
We
for Cody.
get Ricochet on SmackDown doing this thing, challenging for the US title.
No.
Oh,
All right.
No.
Okay. Oh, gotta hit the round of applause. New Day is back.
Welcome back.
New Day is back. How good was it to see those two guys
So
back
cool.
and together? Typically, I'm the person where I'm like, how y'all come back and be the exact same gimmick and the same people you were? Not this time. Super happy to see them back. I don't have anything more than that. I don't know if you guys do, but it was great to have them back on our TV.
Yeah, because it was a surprise for me. So I was really happy too. I would like to see, though, maybe an evolution change if it makes sense, because you're right, they've been this now for probably, since my years are off, I'm just laying on 5 years. They've been like this for the last 5 years. So I would like to see an evolution change, but I was really happy to see them.
Keep them boys just as they are. They are a treat. A chocolate treat delight.
You felt that.
I just love, man. I was so happy. Look, because I'm still, I don't say I was jet lagged. Maybe I might have been Detroit lag. I had too much fun over the weekend. I had fun, emotions, and everything. I had to go to work, and work was a insanely long day for me. And my kid ended up getting sick, and I had to drive an hour to go get him, and it ended up being a day. So at some point, I fell asleep during the show, and all of a sudden, I heard that music. And I woke up, it's the New Day. Yes, it is. And like, literally I said it. Like, I don't know if they said it, but I said it like at some point when I woke up. And I was just so happy to see those brothers back because you know what? They're a feel-good act, right? They're a feel-good act. They're fun. And I love feel-good and fun. And I think the company has missed that. What I would love to see is, Big E back with him, like right. I don't know if you guys been keeping up with him and his struggles and his story, but he's back. He's feeling great, but the doctors have advised him to not wrestle again.
Yep.
And Big E, and Big
hurtful.
E, he likes wrestling, but he also is a very realistic person. He's a minimalist. I think I'm saying that correctly. He's a very logical person. So for him, he's like, man, I want to have a good after wrestling life, right? I don't want to be in pain and I don't want to be hurting. So he's really, thinking about what he's going to do next. I love to see him come back as being the manager for the New Day. Just to have the three of them together, doing their antics because he's physically, he looks good. I think it's probably just the shock of maybe taking a bump to his back. But so he can still go in the ring, he can gyrate and shake his booty and he can be funny and fun. He can come back and do that. So if wrestling isn't his thing, I would love to see him just come back and be a manager for the New Day.
And I think we probably, like Rhodesia was like, oh man, that sucks. I think we only feel that way. I think he's so happy and God bless him for not having any type of issues from breaking his neck. He could have been paralyzed. I think that is not lost on him. Even when we saw him in Wale Mania, he was just saying
he's gratitude. He was grateful. It's full of gratitude.
If I don't wrestle again, I'm good. Like my health is good. I feel great. So hey, that's at the end of the day, that's what we care about. But yeah, it sucks every time you hear the music and it's him saying it's the New Day. Yes, it is. But even that pop from last night, Pete, you think of Big E.
I do
when you hear that. But yeah, just super happy to see them back.
Last thing on that. If you guys don't watch Up Up Down Down on YouTube, he's been on that for a number of months, and he and Kofi were on there and one they're doing like some kind of water games thing, and it's cool. You see Maxine Dupree and you see Sonya Deville. I guess pre-injury she was on there. It was really. I think I guess Maxine and Sonya are really good friends because they have a really good banter. They were like on teams together. But just seeing Big E joking around with Kofi, he had literally Kofi on his shoulders. They're doing introductions, and he had another grown man on his shoulders for at least about a good 10 minutes. And so that physically he can do a lot of good things, but just seeing them go back in his dad. So if you guys don't know, you can learn a lot about these wrestlers on a personal level. Big E is a sweater. He's one of those sweating people. We all know those guys that just sweat.
He needs a towel.
Easily.
So he needs one of those people who keep a towel on him.
Yeah, he's a sweater, right? So he had Kofi on his neck for about a good 10 minutes, right? So he finally lets Kofi down. Kofi had jeans on. Had some nice Jordan 1s too, right? But right in his crotch, It was just wet.
It's all wet.
It was wet from his neck. So of course X got to talk about the sweaty crotch. But this scene, their banter is just really great. So I would love to see more of that on TV.
And you talking about Maxine Dupuis. You know what? This chick, I'm like, she's out here to try to get Otis. I think she actually loves Otis.
Oh,
she was disgusted by Ludwig when he was doing all that stuff.
Ever since she was a model. When it was Maxine model, she was on Otis then. So, she loves some Otis. Ain't nothing in the game. It's all real love with them. I do know Chad Gable said that he's ready for a singles run. That's great to see.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, hopefully, Chelsea is ready for a singles run. Man, those fucking belts are snake bit. I'm serious when I say this. I wonder if they should legit get rid of those belts and make new ones. Don't get rid of the actual tag team title belts. But I really wonder if they should melt those belts down, get rid of those belts, bring another set to up, because this is unreal. Sonya's out. She tore her ACL. She's out for months. They cannot catch a break with those tag titles.
See, I don't like to be like superstitious about bad things, but like, wow, your exhibit A through Z is like, yeah. It's almost like the what was it, the Madden cover? If you made the Madden cover,
the Madden curse, yeah,
you got the Madden curse. That's kind of like what I feel, but I don't want to put that energy out there. I don't really subscribe to that.
No,
but
it's out there,
man.
It has been out there. You ain't got to worry about putting it out there.
But that's what it's like. That the Madden curse is for the women's tag.
Woo. Yeah, there was a graphic that somebody put up with the champions. I think the last 5 champions or whatever, and the injury. I think it was started. I can't. Did you see it, Matt?
No,
online. It was it was Liv. Liv got injured, and somebody else got injured, and it was just like the last 5 or 6 champions and the injuries that they had.
All of them.
Yeah.
I mean, think of it. Even when Shayna and Ronda got him, Ronda was injured before that.
Ronda got injured.
I mean, it's just like it's crazy. It is absolute crazy. E, I know you brought up on Sunday's pod, you wanted to talk about the state of women's wrestling. I guess we can bring that up now, because we just talked about Sonya. So they haven't said what they're doing with the tag titles yet. I guess they're going to discuss it next week. But that sucks. That sucks.
Yeah. Real quick on that. So I hope that I hope that staying with the tag titles right real quick. Mm-hmm. At this point, I don't want to see them do another tournament for the women.
No, you can't.
Like, right?
Just bring Iconics back.
And the
they ain't got enough teams to do a tournament. Yeah, Liv's hurt. Raquel ain't working right now. I mean, who? Like, come on.
Well, they got a lot of women in NXT, right? Got a lot of women in NXT, but with Chelsea's character, right, with her being like a quote unquote, Karen complaining. Mm-hmm. It'd be perfect that she complains to management, Adam Pearce, that she should be able to get a substitute partner, right? And she gets, I don't know, somebody from NXT or a returning, heel character, and she just gets a substitute for some time, and they just keep that thing going. And maybe, I don't know if, Sonya Deville can come back and she's in a wheelchair and she's just talking trash from the sidelines, whatever the case may be. But they can make it fun, and they can keep this thing moving without it actually having a whole nother tournament or just keeping them off TV. So I hope that they do something with that Chelsea character and she comes up with something fun, because I think she's a really fun character and I think she can make it work.
I agree. She tweeted after the show, Chelsea 2 belts green. You are spot on with what they can do. I mean, because hell, once again, it's not like they got a lot of challengers. I'm good with not seeing those belts defended for a while. Let her run some incredible and fantastic segments with, finding somehow how to, weasel her way out of either defend the titles or whatever the case may be. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we know they should be able to pull that off too. And in that you're able to keep them titles, I would say relevant, but they're whatever. But it won't be like out of sight, out of mind, because we're seeing it from time to time. But again, I don't want nobody else to have it unless you bring the Iconics back. That's it.
The only thing about the Iconics, so I know that I know Cassie has had the baby. Mm-hmm. I think she's back in good shape. But I believe that Billy is now pregnant.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah, I think she's still pregnant. I think she announced it. I think it's been some time now, Matt. Right? It was like
I
4
think so.
months ago or so.
Oh, I
Yep.
didn't know that.
Yeah. So she's not ready yet.
Yeah.
I guess this makes sense because at the time, I want to say a couple years ago when they said they're taking a hiatus. I don't think they said announcing retirement, but took a hiatus from wrestling. I'm like, why? You guys are doing your thing. You're still young. Why are you taking a break? So now it makes sense that they want to take a step back and they want to grow their individual families. So that's pretty cool. But hey, guys, I mentioned on Sunday that I want to talk to you guys about women's wrestling. I've been thinking about it for some time. And I think about it in the totality of my feelings on women's wrestling. And this isn't really just a question; it's just us having an honest conversation about our fandom for wrestling and the women in it. But a lot of times when we do these review shows, and Rhodesia will be really hard on these women's matches, and I'd be like, "Dang, girl, like you shouldn't be so hard. These are the women, you should be propping them up, right?" And so, but now I think I'm starting to get that way, and I think for a while, for me as a fan, I started grading women's matches on the curve. And to me, I think, where they're not as athletic as men or they're not as experienced. They haven't been doing it for so long. So I will kind of grade it up. And I think for Rhodesia, she wouldn't do that. It was either it was good or it wasn't or whatever. It was a fair, honest, raw thoughts on the actual match. Whereas me, I would kind of take it a step back for different reasons. And
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, and with that being said, like I think there's a lot of negativity around the women right now. I mean, we had the AEW locker room drama. You guys followed that? It's been all over. It was a long-term indie performer came to one of the shows, and she had a lot to say about the locker room. And then a lot of the women and people in the AEW locker room came to the defense. So that wasn't the greatest. I know a couple weeks ago, I'm not sure if it was on the AEW title championship match with Sheeta and Tony Storm, but there was reports that people were leaving the arena during those matches. During SummerSlam, me personally, I got up and left during the Shayna and Ronda match, right? And a lot of people were getting up with me. I was actually kind of irritated by that. I was really irritated that everyone was getting up during this match because this was my time for myself, and they wanted to share with me. But for me, women's wrestling a couple years ago was so hot. We had great matches, starting with the 4 Horsewomen, and it was just a lot of great matches and a lot of great moments. But in the past couple years on AEW, for the most part, a lot of the matches are just there for the most part. Some of them are good. A lot of them aren't. A lot of the women's matches and the women's storylines on WWE haven't been entertaining. I haven't been fully invested. A lot of times when these matches come on, I check out on Raw when Shayna and what's the young lady's name? Who did she wrestle?
Ronda?
No, Shayna on Raw. Who did she wrestle? Trish's
you're talking
girl.
about? You're talking about Zoe Stark.
Zoe Starks. That should have been a great match. Maybe it was, but I started.
I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was a really good match, actually.
I started doing something else. I just wasn't invested. I just don't feel like I've been invested in a lot of the matches, and I think for a good population of the wrestling fans, they just haven't. Women's wrestling hasn't really given us something to really sink our teeth into. I can't think of what's been a hot feud on any of the shows just recently. So just for me, when I see all of this negativity about the women's wrestling and all these guys leaving the matches, I think there's a problem. Unfortunately, I think maybe with some of the matches we're seeing and some of the storylines we're getting. I mean, how are you guys feeling about what we're seeing with women's wrestling?
So a couple things. One, I am not going to grade on a curve when it comes to a women's match versus a male's match. I hold them both to high standards, and I think I would be kind of being a hypocrite if I say, "Oh, well, that was good because it was a women's match." No. I'm not looking at wrestlers differently between women and men outside of certain physical things that they can do. So I'm going to hold them to the same standard that I would, not even a higher standard. I'm going to hold them to the same standard as I would a male match. That's kind of the first part. The second part, as far as the state of women's wrestling, I actually think is pretty strong. And I say that because if we look at the top companies, so WWE, AEW, or just even say with WWE, because AEW wasn't around to 8 to 10 years ago. You just look at what we see on TV. We get sometimes two women's matches per show, and they get some good time. You rewind this 8 years ago, you maybe got a women's match. You rewind this about 15 years ago, maybe you got one women's match, and it was a bra and panties match. So to me, I think that the state of women's wrestling is very strong. I have not seen as many shows being main evented by women in their pay-per-views and like just Impact, seeing like what their main events have been. So for me, I think again, I don't want to say it again, but the state of women's wrestling is good. Now there's a lot of misdirection, and maybe the people who are in the creative room need to be women themselves. And I don't know how that makeup looks, but just like I think with a lot of creative rooms, it probably is just a lot of men and male dominated. And that's ignorant because I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I'm thinking. I just think maybe that there's more emphasis needs to be put on the direction of women and what is going to fit to them the best. But I'm proud of what we are doing, and I'm not a wrestler, but I'm proud of being a woman wrestling fan. And that's pretty much about it. Again, we know that women's tag team title is tarnished or stained or snake bitten, whatever Matt calls it. We know that AEW has a lot of things to tighten up. So not just the women there, but I think that it can be done. I just think that we need probably better creative bookers and producers to put together better these women matches.
Matt?
Man, I said my piece like 2 weeks ago when I asked you guys, hey, is the opportunity in women's wrestling the talent or is it the storylines? And I forgot what you guys kind of said, but that could be the real question. The women are fine. I don't really compare the women to what it was years and years ago when you're talking NXT with the four horsewomen, because we've never seen anything like that before in the history of U.S. wrestling. To Rhodesia's point, Trish Stratus is one of the GOATs. Mickie James is one of the GOATs. Seems like they had just as many bra and panties matches as they did real, legit, I am invested in you, not because you're pretty, but because this is a story that you guys have been telling, and I can't wait to see who wins. I mean, hell, the belt was called Divas Championship, but we know what comes with that. And it wasn't all bad. It has that nasty taste now of it, but that's why the Bellas was so big. The Bellas came in and took over. And we see just the legacy that they have left. But that's happened already, right? Like the four horsewomen did all the first ever main event on Raw, you know, besides, you know, Trish and Lita years and years ago. Iron Man match, Hell in a Cell match. They've done it all. So that comes with a level of gravitas with it. Now everything has kind of been done already for the most part. We've seen the women main event in WrestleMania. They've never main evented Night 2 yet, but they've main evented WrestleMania.
Nobody other than Roman has main evented Night 2.
Yeah, I mean, hell, he's got it on lock. So I think that's that piece. I also think too that if we're being completely honest with ourselves, there is a talent deficiency in some of these promotions in the women's roster. If we were to go down and not to be mean and just say, all right, let's look at the women who can really go in the ring. I'm not saying pair them with a veteran to lead them. I'm saying, hey, they can lead their own match and the match will be great. I think the number is lower than what it was 3-4 years ago. I think NXT does great with the women. We know Impact does great with the women. WWE has their opportunities. We talked about it where I came out here and said, you can't have your second biggest pay-per-view and not have Rhea on the show, not have Becky on the show. Now, I can't figure out if Raquel is really hurt or if Rhea's hurt, because Rhea hasn't wrestled, I think it's going on 3 weeks now. Her last match was a house show.
Good point.
She hasn't wrestled yet. I can't figure out who is what, but we know Rhea's all over the TV. She's on almost every segment on Raw. So whatever, take her out of it. But with Becky, if we are being completely truthful with ourselves and we say, what match would you have cut from SummerSlam from a perspective of who's hot? what's important, what the crowd is paying to see. First thing we would say is, oh, the Battle Royal can go. But the Battle Royal is attached to LA Knight. LA Knight's attached to Slim Jim. They run a commercial after the match. That's got to be there. Okay. Then you can say Ronda Shayna.
But if this is Ronda going away, you can't.
This is Ronda's going away, and this is what she asked for, and you can give Ronda what she asked for because she's Ronda Rousey.
And she's still a big name, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you're not pulling any other match off that card.
Nope.
For Becky and Trish. And it's not Becky and Trish, it's the level of the story and the emotional investment that we had toward that storyline. While I kept coming out here saying every single week, like, I'm excited for this match. But I talked about it like, man, that segment didn't really hit. Man, that feels like they just went out there and winged it. Man, she had a good night on the mic, but she didn't. It felt like it was always something that was a little off each and every week. Is that the talent? Or is that the storyline? I don't know. But what I do know is I think overall the state of women's wrestling is good. I think it's fine. I think WWE still needs to do a better job of presenting the women in a position where they need to have one of the hottest storylines because they've done it before. But you got to get somebody that's hot. And I just think right now they're just not that hot.
But then do you think that too, just again with evolution and just time, do you think that maybe writers and producers and creative just doesn't have enough experience in writing for women? Or do you think it's just a matter of a storyline as a storyline?
That's a cop-out.
Okay.
And the reason why it's a cop-out is, yes, you should have women in that room. Of course. Of course you should have women in that room. But it's a cop-out because at the end of the day, we watch wrestling for characters, for story, and the physicality. Right? There was nothing that the Four Horsewomen did. I mean, there were some things, but there was really nothing they did where you would say, oh man, that was only for a woman. That storyline was only for women. Oh man, that storyline had to have been written, or that promo had to have been written by a woman. No. Now, are there things that Bianca says and does where you say, yes, you have to know the culture to get that? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. But a woman doesn't have to know that. That story they told actually, Exhibit A, B, and C. Take the triple threat match for the SmackDown title. Some of the better storyline we've seen from WWE with women. There's nothing in that about women. No. It's a title. We all think we're the best. We're going after it. This is what we're doing. Look at that match. Match was great. Coming out of that match, I said it on Sunday. I am so excited on seeing how they proceed because everybody has a beef. Now, everybody's got something they're invested in. Has nothing to do with because they're females. No, it's because they're great. They're fantastic. And you told a story that everybody can understand. I didn't get beat. You cheated to win. I should have never lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's universal.
But the elements to things like a script, again, I'm just assuming that there still is a script in WWE, and I'm just using them for an example right now. There's still certain things that women will say and how they say it that only other women will understand that. So that's why I'm just going like for the writing piece. Like, we know anybody that we see on TV on any company, maybe for the exception of, and I'm going to say her name, and this is not any slide to her, but like Anna Jay, only because she doesn't have a lot of matches under her belt. But pretty much anybody we see on TV, they're professionals. They're still the cream of the crop of when you look at this whole pro wrestling world and the whole talent pool. So they're still professionals. I just feel that maybe if there were more women writers in there writing these scripts, helping with the creative, there could be a way that we can say something. You're right. The storyline is still the storyline. The matches are still the same. How you book it probably still the same. But there's still certain things we say as women that hits a little bit differently. To your point of Bianca Belair. Granted, it's more of a culture thing, but still.
I agree with that, actually, Rhodesia. I think that's one of the fixes, actually. I for me, would be to have special writers for the women's division. Because it's one thing we always talk about, and this goes back into just everyday real life, right? Women are just as much of a minority as Black people or Mexican or brown people, anybody.
Mm-hmm.
it's still a predominantly male culture, right? It'll be helpful to have voices that understand that culture or those
Mm-hmm.
women present. Now, ultimately, Triple H, Vince, Tony, whoever, they're going to write stories for the people that are hot. They're going to make sure that the people they think add value to their shows have something to do, which is why Britt Baker on AEW always was on the show, right? Because Tony understood that there's value in what she brings, right? She's charismatic, she can cut a good promo, etc. So there's always something for her to do. So if you have somebody hot, they're going to find something for them to do. But I think the problem with it right now, and this might be a hot take, I don't think that women's wrestling is hot right now. I think it was back when the quote-unquote revolution was going on, because it was kind of a special attraction, because we started seeing women in a different spotlight we hadn't seen them in, right? Doing different things that we have never seen done before. So I think it was more emphasis to create stories for these women and put them in a spotlight. I don't think right now women's wrestling is a special attraction. It's something that I don't say take for granted, but it's part of the show now. It's like the women's division is like the cruiserweight division, or like the lightweight division. It's something that you are going to go to show, you're going to see, and you understand you're going to see a women's match or two. I think it would be helpful if, number one, they understand the strengths and weaknesses of their women, especially on AEW television. I know that AEW has a lot of inexperienced people in a lot of positions and on the overall roster, but they have a lot of veteran talent, which is great. There, I'm seeing Mercedes Martinez. I don't know if she's been injured, but where she's been, but she's been, she's a great wrestler to me. I don't think we should have Athena buried on ROH television. I think we should have women that can really go in the ring. I think they should be put in positions to work with some of these younger talents to bring the overall quality in the matchup. I think that they can benefit from actually better matchups, better stories, and I think it would be worthwhile if they had somebody that specifically created stories for the women's division, because it's been a long time. We're talking about the Bloodline storyline, other storylines going on in wrestling and Punk and etc. But I can't tell you the last time I've been excited about a women's storyline. And it's not the Outcast story. I don't really care about it. Like, I'm not sure if I was even that excited that Sheeta even won the championship. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere.
Come on. I love
just saying,
Sheeta.
it's what it is, right? Like, I like Sheeta, but like, she hasn't really been doing a whole lot, and all of a sudden she's a champion again. So I think it would be a benefit to actually have people in positions to create stories exclusively for those women's divisions and pitch them to the main, powers that be that put stuff on television.
But then, to be fair, you can't say that, but then say, when I told you last week to watch the video package of Ronda and Shayna, no, I don't want to watch. That's complete story.
No, I can, because I've paid attention to that story for like 20 weeks. And if for the 19th week, I wasn't interested. So I'm not giving you another 20 week. I give things time. But
that doesn't make sense, though. If that's the go home, and you're saying no. But
stop. Hold up. If I go to a restaurant and I get burnt 5 times, I'm not going to a 6th time. You can tell me, hey, it's good now, but I done been there 6 times, and I'm not wasting my time or my energy or money on going to a place that's already burnt me 5 times. That's great that they had a great match.
So then your entire argument then is null and void. Because if you want to use the restaurant analogy, that means you're not going back to that restaurant. Right. Then the answer to what you're just saying is, well, then just don't watch women's wrestling. No, if they presented something to you, you have to at least give it a chance. You can't say, like, for 10 minutes that, oh man, they need different writers and they need to make these women special, and they give you a 8-minute classic storyline video package the week before their second biggest show, and you say, I'm not even going to watch it. Okay,
I can't say that, because I'm not going to waste my time. That has nothing to do with,
but it does.
It does, because if you're the type person, but if you can give something a chance after chance after chance after chance, and then it works for you, I don't have that time. I'm sorry. I only have limited time to invest. That has nothing to do with my overall story about women. I give multiple women matches. Like for Shayna, I'll watch Shayna, see what she's doing next. I like Zoe. I've give multiple things chances to see what they're going to do. But if it's a specific story, I'm not going to continue to watch it week after week. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, now I'm off of it. I'm not going to give it a chance just because, I'm out of it.
Well, no, my example was, the reason my example was, you were going to SummerSlam. SummerSlam is the same week of that video package, and you wouldn't watch the video package. This isn't me saying like, hey, I know you're not invested in this, and who knows when the match is going to happen, but watch it. And you said, no, like I'm completely checked out. You're going to the show. It's the same week. You could spend 8 minutes to watch the video package if you care so much about how women's wrestling is being presented. By you not watching the video package, you can't then really say like how that was presented in its totality. We have been watching wrestling long enough to know like go home shows, you may be like, you know what? They may have some misses, but that go home show was fantastic. And now you're more excited to see the show or see the particular match. And I'm not saying that that would have changed your mind on going to get something to eat or drink during that match. But where then do you draw the line of we need to see women in a different light or presented better? And then it's, you know what? I gave them a chance to present them better. They're not presenting this storyline better, so I'm not going to even spend my time watching it anymore. Because from what you're saying is, if they give me something in the first couple weeks, and if I don't like it, I'm checked out.
No, I think you're overtaking the comment I said. I'm not grouping the entire women's wrestling in the entire world with that one statement. Like, I'm not going to give women's wrestling 3 weeks and I'm off of it, right? Women's wrestling storylines and wrestlers, I'll give them a shot based on like who they're working with. I don't group them all together. That specifically Shayna thing, like, here's the one thing about me. I told you guys a couple of times, I'm not like you guys. Like, I'm not emotional. So you can't here's the thing. You personally, you can't call me a dummy every day, right? Hurt my feelings every day. And then here it is a month later, tell me, hey, E, I'm sorry. No, that once this you apologize for calling me a dummy for 4 weeks does not unhurt my feelings. Now, over time, right, and through interaction, etc., we can build a bridge back to a positive place. But it doesn't happen for me just in one day, right? So me watching that video package wasn't that important because I had my mind made up, and we talked about it. It's a long show. I had to get up to go pee and get something to eat at some point. That was the spot.
That was like he's like 3 years old.
Yeah.
That was the spot for me to go. So that video package wasn't going to change my mind.
Did you go?
Oh, no. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. You can't go
Jesus
poop.
Christ.
You can't go poop in public restaurants. You got to hold that.
Well, I think this was really good back and forth, talking about kind of our own point of views about women's wrestling and over all these years, just in the last 10 to 15 years. But I do have another question for you, especially since we're talking about kind of history in its totality. I saw this on the Twitter and I'm like, oh my God, I got to ask this to y'all. But I also don't know my answer. No, I think I know my answer. So on the Twitter, it said one of them has to go. It's 4 wrestlers. 1 is Undertaker. 2 is Stone Cold Steve Austin. 3 is one time The Rock. And then 4 is John Cena. If one of them had to go, who would you pick? Considering this is probably besides Roman and Steve Austin, this is probably my Mount Rushmore of WWE wrestlers. Who would have to go?
My answer isn't going to be popular. So,
damn.
Yeah, my answer is not going to be popular.
I'm going to surprise y'all on my answer.
Wait, who's the Mount Rushmore again?
Okay, so, forget the Mount Rushmore. The question was, which one of the 4 has to go? Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock, and John Cena.
Oh, Undertaker.
That would also be what I would have to say.
You are a lie, Rhodesia. That is like your favorite wrestler.
Because let me tell you why. Because again, what we talked about in the women's segment here is the integrity of wrestling. So when I think about WWE and the whole picture of professional wrestling, we wouldn't be here without Stone Cold. We wouldn't be here for The Rock. And we damn sure wouldn't still be here without John Cena. Now, maybe The Rock could have been maybe my second person, but The Rock was the reason why I ended up starting to watch wrestling in his Versace outfit and his long sideburns, and I thought he was fine as hell. But again, I digress. It has to be The Undertaker. The streak was amazing. I get it. He lived his entire career in character, not until he didn't become Mark Calloway until he was about to go in the Hall of Fame. But of all those 4 people in the whole business, now I know he was what they called him, the judge, the jury, and the executioner of was he judge a wrestling court? He was the judge of wrestling court. Again, that's the inner workings. But just what I saw production wise on TV, I think Undertaker may have to go.
So you are willing to get rid of your favorite wrestler of all time
for the integrity of the sport entertainment?
Hell with some integrity. I know E don't really rock with Taker like that. He said it when so like that makes perfect sense.
Forget that.
No, that makes sense though. But you saying Undertaker, you guys are full of it. You know who's got to go.
That's very novel.
To me, this ain't even close.
Your favorite wrestler, and
that's what I'm saying. Like,
wow.
That's not.
But I'm telling you, that's how I operate. If you look at where we at as wrestling today in the WWE, of these 4 people, I think he had the least impact. And that's me saying. I mean, that's tough for me to say because he is my favorite wrestler. But I'm being honest. Maybe The Rock would have been the close second.
Well, that's a very interesting question there. Especially the way you pose it. Who was more important to the WWE? I mean,
but that wasn't the question.
Okay, so then let me rephrase it.
No.
I still feel the same. No, actually, no, I feel the same way.
Right, for you,
how I first said it. Yeah,
my answer is gonna be the same.
Who?
Love you, sir. You gotta go.
Who?
And then I ain't even batting an eye when I tell you that we would just have to find another top guy for the last 12 years.
Who?
Because Mr. Cena, you gotta go.
Oh my God.
There is no way in the world.
He kept the company running.
That's fine. I don't care.
My God, man.
We'll find another top guy. You know what? Remember we talked about, who the top guy should have been between Orton, Batista, and Cena? Batista and Orton, you're up. You're on deck.
Listen, I'm going to have to cover John Cena's ears. I don't want him to hear you saying that.
I love The Rock too much. The 3 of them. Taker was way too important because if you want to go that way, I could argue, and we could argue, and you could argue, he knows this, if Taker was to jump ship back in 97, 98 when everybody else did, WWE is not even here. So there would be no chance for a John Cena to keep this thing going. But for me, it's not even that. I'm just looking at, I've never bought a John Cena shirt. I'm probably never bought
Come on, but hold on. You bought Little Matt every single color of John Cena shirt. He still got money from our household.
Little Matt's not a host of That's Freakin' Wrestling podcast like the 3 of us are. All right, so don't give a damn what Little Matt thinks. It's all about me right now. And yes,
but you just said you didn't buy a t-shirt, but you bought a shirt in size small.
Hey, pause for a second. How long y'all gonna keep calling him Little Matt? That boy like 7'1".
And actually, I don't even call him Little Matt. Actually, I call him Matthew. So I don't know why you can say it here.
Until I'm not around anymore, he's always gonna be Little Matt.
Yeah,
he's always Little Matt.
He's Matthew to me.
I feel you.
But yeah, no, it's Cena for me. It is.
Wow.
Yep. And that's strictly just from a personal thing. That's not okay. Yeah, this isn't like it wasn't who had the most impact for the business. No, you just said one gotta go. See you, Cena. That's all. Ain't that serious? Wow. I got one for you now. Then I got one.
I would say that I was probably more of a fan of Undertaker versus John Cena during his run, but I was always at least entertained from John Cena from a mic perspective. Like for me, Taker. I like Taker better when he was the badass. When he's American Badass.
American Badass. That's when I started watching him.
I like that version of him better than the Dead Man walking. I felt like the Dead Man was kind of bland. I felt like the Dead Man. We talk about the Fiend, and we talked about the Fiend could be the next Undertaker, right? That was what we were kind of saying. I felt like the Dead Man was more. I don't know how to phrase it, but I'll take the Fiend over the Dead Man.
Just character alone, not like what happens after it. Just character alone.
Just character. I always felt the Undertaker was bland. I always felt the Dead Man was bland.
But shouldn't he have been?
Because
he's the Undertaker.
But no, nobody should be bland.
Okay, but I mean,
no character.
But one-dimensional, and then at that time, right now we got the Fiend. You have the big Titantrons and all this extra effects and stuff like that. Just like with movies today, to me, look way better than movies back in the day because you can do more.
Yeah.
But I appreciate what you're saying there. But again, Undertaker got to go.
Dang, that's crazy. You said
Yeah,
your
it
favorite
hurts
wrestler
my
gotta go.
heart.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's update this.
Yeah.
You got 4. You got one of them's got to go.
Okay.
Kenny Omega, CM Punk,
Punk.
Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes.
And same question, just one has to go?
Yep, just one got to go.
Okay. Well, Punk for me.
You said Seth was in there?
Seth, Kenny, Punk, Cody.
Kenny.
Ooh. I can't believe I'm about to say this. It's Seth.
I started to go with Seth too.
Yep, it's Seth. I can't believe I'm going to say it, but if you had to ask me right now, like, hey, you
y'all
can't watch
suck.
one of them again,
Y'all suck.
it would be Seth.
Well, I would say Kenny because I don't think I'm ever going to see the old Kenny again.
Well,
So
you
if
will.
you ask that
every-
question-
No, you will every January for Wrestle Kingdom.
And see, that's ultimately, Matt, why I went Seth over. I mean, I kept Seth
Mm-hmm.
over Kenny because I felt like I will get and have had more big matchups from Seth, right? Like a lot of Kenny stuff is New Japan stuff.
Right.
We don't get as much of it, and he hasn't wrestled. He's wrestled some top talent over in Japan, right? But Seth has it's a who's who of who Seth has wrestled during his career and will wrestle just because of the people that go in and out of WWE. So I just think that there's a larger resume, right? If you can watch it on on demand, I think that Seth will have a bigger library of matches for me to watch versus Kenny. I think the two of them are pretty close, and I think for me as a fan, I'll take Seth.
Okay.
I think they both do the same things well, but I think Seth does all of them a little bit better.
Well, I don't even know if I'll say better, but he does it more often. I mean, we just see Seth consistently. Real quick, before we get to AEW, because I was going to bring up Collision rating and then get your thoughts on just a few matches they've announced so far for All In. You hated the finish of Seth and Finn because you didn't like the whole Judgment Day piece with the potential breakup and all that. We saw, of course, on Raw Monday, the next step. You feel better about it? You still feel the same way? You feel worse?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not like, so now I'm out my feelings about it, right? Like it is what it is. I still think that Finn got to go. Like Finn's a sucker, like, right? Like that's a storytelling. Like he's a sucker, man. He
lost again. He's the one that got pinned last night, right?
He got pinned. He a hot wire, man. He coming out of nowhere doing things, man. Hey, look, like if I'm part of the crew, like yo, Finn got to go. He's tripping right now. We gotta either get him in line or he got to go.
I did think last night, like, who's the leader of Judgment Day?
Seemed like Rhea, right?
Dominic.
It seems like they don't really have a leader, right? It seems like they're just four friends, right? And and not one person does have more of a dominant personality over the other, but it seems like Rhea is the voice of reason for them, right?
I think
she's
whoever
definitely
does
the
jail
mama.
time.
She's definitely the mama.
Whoever does jail time is the leader of the crew. And that's Dom.
Oh, well, then
He
that's
did
Dom.
hard
He did hard
time.
time. He did hard time, man.
But no, to your point about Rhea, the way she came in when they were bickering, more so than the last time they showed this a couple months ago, when she came in, that was like straight mama mode. She channeled probably her own mama spirit.
Her mama instincts kicked in hard. I was like, you got a kid somewhere you hiding?
Right.
Because that sounded just like a mama.
Yep.
That was crazy. Real quick, AEW. So Collision's rating from Saturday was 417,000 viewers.
I think that's great.
I said that. I said,
wow.
I don't know what they expected when they're going up against, WWE PLEs and, the Logan Paul fight was then and all that kind of stuff, but that was afterwards. I think that's a good number. I'm sorry, Jake Paul. I think that's a good number. 417.
I think
I'm sure
too.
I'm sure the DVR numbers are strong, but not that bad.
I think that's really good.
Not that bad. If they are typically doing high 6s, low 7s,
I thought you said they were in
I
8.
would. No, they hit 8 like once.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
would
then that's
expect
even more better.
I would expect 250,000 to 300,000 to watch SummerSlam
Mm-hmm.
over a quote unquote regular edition of Collision.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know what? That's so. I think on average they're just under 600K on average.
Wow.
So that just tells you they have about 400,000 people that don't watch WWE.
Right. And that was the number. Remember, we said like, all right, whatever number pulls up, evidently this has to be the die hard. I only watch AEW between AEW and WWE.
Hey, sadly, look, no, if you're a fan or a friend of the show, I do apologize. I don't mean anything. I'm just saying what it is. I'm just saying what it is. It's Saturday, and all you watching AEW, you know. There it is, right?
Say it.
Like,
say it. What do you mean by that?
That's as far as I'm gonna go with it.
But what you mean by I don't understand these implications. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? You saying that you're L7 if you're watching Collision on a Saturday night?
Yeah, you got the UFC, you got the Paul fights, you got SummerSlam. You know, it's Saturday night. You young, dumb, and maybe full of, something. But you choose to stay home and watch.
There you go. Rhodesia's getting excited again over there. That's what I'm talking about. You already know what's happening.
Hey,
Rhodesia get done.
Rhodesia let's hurry up and get this podcast over. I got something to do.
That's like our mating call. She know what it is.
Damn. Hey, but you got all that going on, and on Saturday night you watching Collision.
But that's fine.
To each your own. No, nothing wrong with that.
I mean, I just couldn't imagine watching Collision over SummerSlam. But of course, I know it's all just fun and games. We're just joking around.
If you're not a WWE guy, right?
Correct.
You would be watching Collision,
right?
Yep.
Like I don't have a subscription to Peacock. I'm not paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Collision comes free on my TV.
I think that number's okay. I think
that number is incredible.
No, it's more than okay.
I think
it's more than okay. That's great.
Yep. So, of course, we know college football starts, I think, this Saturday. So we'll start kind of seeing what they look like when they're going against major competition. But I think this week or this past week was one of the stronger competition Saturdays they're going to have. Until we get to Survivor Series, there's not going to be another major pay-per-view that I think is going to hurt that number. And Collision to be deeper into the game, so they'll pick up more fans. So they announced for Collision this week, we have House of Black versus CMFTR for the trios titles. I popped.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I can't wait to see the finish on this because they've already announced for All In the Bucks versus FTR for the titles. So, like, who takes the pin? Once again, you guys know how much I love Collision, but that match will be great.
He's going to be a Collision, right? Or everywhere.
Yeah, he said even Collision.
But that's not Bucks, but still.
Right. So we got that match, and we also got Mercedes Martinez and Diamante versus Willow and Chris Statlander. So I think that's going to be a good match, too, to our earlier point about women getting better spotlights. So that's Collision. There's a couple matches I'm excited for by Dynamite, but this comes out Wednesday, so we don't have to talk about that. I do want to bring up All In. So far, they've announced 3 matches. I want to get your guys' thoughts on these 3 matches. So we know we got MJF versus Adam Cole for the AEW Championship. Just said it. FTR versus Young Bucks, number 3, the rubber match for the AEW Tag Team Championship. And then CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. First 3 matches announced. Guess you can argue and say arguably they may be the top 3 matches. Give me your thoughts.
I think these top 3 are magnificent. I would buy All In for these 3 matches here. Outside of the fact of where they're at, and this is the biggest show in history, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to make light of that. But these 3 absolutely would sell the pay-per-view. One of these could sell the pay-per-view. My worry now, just listening to this, is did they kind of set themselves up for failure because we have All Out next week or the week after that? I don't know. That's not your question here. But that is kind of like is in the front of my head now. Like, you're about to have this really great All In card,
Mm-hmm.
how is that going to be followed on All Out? Because I would imagine that we should see at least something, another match out of these people at All Out, right?
You mean like
Maybe
a rematch?
not all, or just out of these three people here, are the three matches that you have: your Bucks, 2 people; FTR, 2 people; MJF, Adam Cole; CM Punk, Samoa Joe. That's 8 people right there. So I would imagine I would seeing at least 2 of these 8 people again on All Out.
No, you're gonna see all 8. You're gonna see all.
But
all
that's
8
the
of them.
point that I'm making.
Maybe not Joe, but I mean, regardless, whatever the card is going to be for All In, their job is to now sell All Out a week later, which it looks like both are going to be on pay-per-view. There is no combo of like buy one, you get the second half off or anything like that, or buy both for $100. Looks like they're both going to be full price. So that is what it is. They got to figure out, how they're going to sell, All Out. I think All In is going to be sold. 80,000 people.
Yeah, for sure.
People are going to buy the pay-per-view just to even see them run their first stadium show. And that may be worth the price of admission alone.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. But if you look at just these 3 matches, you said like you're super excited. You think it's magnificent.
Yeah.
E, go ahead and shit on it. Because I know he is. I know he is.
I mean, honestly, like I started checking out.
Here it goes.
I started checking out when I realized that damn, I got to spend $100 in a week.
No, that's a lot.
That's a lot. I don't know if I want to do that.
That's a lot.
Like, right? I'm like, that's what I started thinking. And you got to think about that as a like, man, look, you asking a lot of investment into your company. And to Rhodesia's point, all right, so you're gonna build one pay-per-view and then you got a week to sell me on another $50.
Mm.
And so far, what do we have for All Out? We have Darby versus Luchasaurus for the AEW TNT title. Did they announce something else yet, or is that it so far?
I don't know. I don't
remember it. I don't remember anything specifically on Collision. However, your point going back to Collision, man. When I saw that House of Black match, it was great. It was great, man. They're 3. What do we call them? Not tag team moves. I guess they're triple threat
trio
tag
moves.
Trio moves, whatever you want to call them. Like they have some moves, man. Like when Malachi Black and Buddy threw one of them black guys. I'm sorry, black guy. I don't know which one you were. Black guy number 3. When he threw him into
Talk about Shiny Lee?
Was that? I don't remember who it was. Was it Lee?
Yep.
Okay, when you threw Lee into the forearm, I was like, that looked nice. Man, they look great as a unit, right? Oh, what also funny online, I'm not sure if exactly what Julia Hart said to Lee on the way out.
If we still had the TFW moment of the week, that would have been my moment of the week. That would have been my moment of the week.
She was walking by. She was a grim dog in Lee. Like, you're not getting any.
She sure did. She said, "You're not getting any."
That was so. I saw that great match. I love them. I think they're an awesome tag team. But then when I saw that they're matched up against FTR and CM Punk,
come on, man,
come on. Like, oh, that's gonna be a good match. But I'm like, all right, they could lose those championships, right? Like on that, because I could see that happening. But like you can't give them the championship because FTR is also challenging the Young Bucks after the next pay-per-view, right? They can't go into the match with the trios in the tag, or can they? Because they can lose the tag team titles to the Young Bucks, but they're still 3-way champions. I mean, now you keep the trios champions, well, still on Collision. That's what I started thinking about more so than pay-per-view. I'm like, oh no, what does this mean for my House of Black? But it's an interesting question, right? And that's going to be a good match. We got the FTR Young Bucks. How many? What's this? Is this our 3rd match?
Yes, this is the rubber match.
The rubber band match. Rubber band match.
All right, so question for both of y'all then. Do we get the Young Bucks' first appearance on Collision this Saturday interfering in that match?
No.
You know what I like? I love that that's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Mm-hmm. Right? We don't know the backstage stuff or what could happen, but the fact that is a possibility is very intriguing for that show. That's why Collision is just one of the best shows to watch in wrestling. It's just too bad it's on a terrible day and time. But Man, they could pop up. I'm hoping they do. I hope they cost them the chance.
Because I just don't know how you get out of this finish. Like, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, maybe Ricky gets involved from a CM Punk's perspective and causes them to lose. I don't know. But when I saw that match, the match is going to be fantastic. The finish may be even better.
Here's their way out of it. Brandon Cutler comes back and he interferes, right? So now it has to be the Bucks.
Him and what's his name? What's the other guy's name?
Nakazawa. Just Tozawa.
That's their way out of it. But it's very interesting, man. But yeah, I can't wait to see that match. But I'm not looking forward to spending $100 in a week to watch them.
Like, of course, we know how excited I've been about MJF Adam Cole. Absolutely, yes, and that deserves to be the main event. FTR Young Bucks, there is no hype for it yet, but we know they're going to kill it in that match. Yep. The one I'm a little like, oh man, is Punk and Samoa Joe. If you were going to run that at All In, they should have never wrestled in the Owen Hart Cup tournament. I know the whole story they're going with is we can't finish this on a roll up, but imagine how much more excited we will all be if this was the first time they've touched since their ROH days. So
I'm not too mad about that, but I see your point. You're right. Yeah. It would have been even more sweeter if we didn't see it until All In.
And I'm wondering maybe that this was a backup plan. I'm wondering maybe if the original plan they may have had fell through or is going to fall through. We know the other rumored match for All In, which I am not excited about, is Chris Jericho and Will Ospreay. Like, I think there is something more that Ospreay could do, but that's another rumored match for All In. So I mean, overall, I'm really excited about 2 out of 3 of those, and we know Punk and Joe, they're going to deliver. But we should see a lot more happening, of course, on Dynamite this week, and then we know we're going to see a lot more on Collision. But they got 3 weeks. They got 3 weeks to build All In. They got 4 weeks to build All Out.
Give me a Christian promo every week. I'll be good to go.
Did you watch it? Did you watch it with his little daughter?
I did. Security, get her out of here. She doesn't have the credentials. So I'm like what a horrible. I shouldn't like you because I don't want people messing with kids, man.
But I guess if it's his kid, I'm not gonna love that kid more than he loves his own kid.
All bets are off, right?
Yeah.
Y'all got anything else before we get out of here?
Just a quick one. If we had the TFW moment of the week, it was Kayla, I guess, is leaving the bump. I don't watch the bump, but she's leaving the bump, and Paulie did a video, like a good Paul Heyman did a little cute video to her, and it starts off saying something along the lines of, "Hey, they wanted me to come on here and rag you and blah 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 blah." But in the end, I can't. Pretty much just biggering up, talking about how she was a great person to work with, that he can't wait to maybe in the future work with her again, and sending her off properly. And in natural Paul Heyman fashion, what does he do at the end when he thought cameras was done after he did the period, and did cut? He's talking mad junk about her. But again, it was just so heartfelt because he felt what he said in the beginning. And then, of course, that was all for entertainment toward the end. And Kayla, you could tell she was about to get kind of teary-eyed as well. But that was, again, you don't know what happens kind of behind the scenes. And great for her. I don't know if she's leaving the company or she's just done with the bump. Okay, she's done with the bump. Okay. I thought that was a really cute moment.
It was real cool. It was real cool.
And I'm out. That's it.
You guys know I ask you on every Wednesday pod, what are you most looking forward to wrestling-wise for the remainder of the week? It is a buffet of stuff on either Dynamite or SmackDown or Collision. What are you most looking forward to?
Dang, I wish I was so quick-witted like you were. I was gonna say Anna Jay's match against, and I forgot who she's wrestling, but she's getting a match Wednesday on Dynamite.
But she worked Rampage against Sky Blue, the Battle of the Booties,
and she won. She beat Sky Blue.
Thanks for spoiling it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm confident you weren't watching for the winner. Because you were winning anyways.
I just love to see both of them bump in the ring. But yeah, I gotta go back and watch that. So your thing is Anna Jay. That's interesting.
But I couldn't get my joke quick enough, so never mind. I just do it.
You're looking forward to a match and you don't know who she's wrestling, huh? Wow. But for me, I gotta go with Collision. I want to see that 6-man match. We just talked about why it's going to be interesting, who can show up, who's going to win, and how it's going to lead to this pay-per-view. It's very, very intriguing. I know we got as you said, we got a lot going on, right? We got SmackDown coming up. We got with the continuation from SummerSlam. But for me, it's going to be Collision and that 6-man.
Yeah, that's mine. Is them making sense of this Jey Uso thing. I typically go with something on Collision, but I'm locked in on SmackDown this Friday. We also have RVD on Dynamite too, so that should be cool to see what the next progression is for Jack Perry, and how that leads to who he wrestles for All Out or All In, excuse me. So, but yeah, for me, it's the Uso piece and how they move on from there. So there you go, guys. Another jam-packed. This may be one of our longer Wednesday shows, excuse me. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating, leave some reviews, go on there, type up some real nice things for us. All right, we already talked about Twitter. We talked about the YouTube. We are wrapped. We will talk to you guys next week. See you then.